t'en va pas, je dirais. Ne me laisse pas seul, mon amour. Ne me laisse pas seul encore. Je dirais c'est difficile. Ne t'en va pas, je dirais. Ne me laisse pas seul, mon amour. Ne me laisse pas seul. Je dirais c'est si difficile. Pas, je dirais, ne me laisse pas seul, mon amour, ne me laisse pas seul encore. Je dirais c'est difficile, ne t'en va pas, je dirais, ne me laisse pas seul, mon amour, ne me laisse pas seul encore. Je dirais c'est difficile. Kanata, Kanata, Jarabi Kanata, Kanata, Jarabi Kanata, Kanata.
Shalom. שמרתי תורתך על גיא מים רבים ירדו על שלום שמרתי תורתך איי 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 איי
Los caminos del amor no pasan por la cabeza, trazan puentes de alegría y senderos de tristeza, túneles de desengaños, carreteras de emoción, autopistas de deseos que viajan al corazón, túneles de desengaños que viajan al corazón. Voy a tu casa, al jardín de las flores, las regamos con besos y dan frutos de amores. Voy a tu alma, arcoíris de cielo, primavera florida de los te quiero.
Conoce mi dirección, el piso de mi ternura y el portal de mi pasión. Los caminos de mi nombre conocen cada rincón de tu cuerpo y de tu casa, de tu dicha y tu dolor. Los caminos de mi nombre conocen cada rincón. Voy a tu casa, catedral del cariño, con la eterna pasión inocente de un niño.
Voy a tu alma, manantial del rocío, voy a tu corazón, que es el mío.
Voy a tu casa, al jardín de las flores, la regamos con besos y dan frutos de amores.
بيك تكون رواية، احكيلي على ناس زمان، احكيلي على ألف ليلة وليلة، ولا لونجة بنت الغولة، ولا ولد السلطان. حاجيتك ما جيتك، ودينا بعيد مدى الدنيا. حاجيتك ما جيتك، كل واحد منا في قلبه حكاية، كل واحد منا في قلبه حكاية. احكي ونسى باللي احنا كبار، في بالك اللي رانا صغار، ونمنو كل حكاية. حكينا على الجنة، حكينا على النار، ولا الطير اللي عمره ما طار، فهمنا معنى الدنيا. حاجيتك ما جيتك، ودينا بعيد مدى الدنيا. حاجيتك ما جيتك، كل واحد منا في قلبه حكاية، كل واحد منا في قلبه حكاية. احكي يا راويكي ما حكاولك، ما تزيد ما تنقص من عندك، كان يشفى ولا بالك. احكي ونسينا مهاد زمان، خلينا في كان يا ما كان، في كان يا ما كان. حاجيتك ما جيتك، ودينا بعيد مدى الدنيا. حاجيتك ما جيتك، كل واحد منا في قلبه حكاية، كل واحد منا في قلبه حكاية.
ואני בחסדך פתחתי, יגע ליבי בישועתך. 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 אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, כי גמל עליי. אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, כי גמל עליי. ואני בחסדך פתחתי, יגע ליבי בישועתך. ואני בחסדך פתחתי, יגע ליבי בישועתך. אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, כי גמל עליי. אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, כי גמל עליי. אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם, אשיר על השם.
heard this melody before, maybe. Maybe it brings you back to the last time Rosh Hashanah was here, the last time that you joined us or joined another community for this Jewish New Year. Or maybe you've never heard this melody before. Maybe this is your first time in a space like this. Either way, welcome. Welcome home. Welcome to this moment. Whoever you are, because we are nothing but all of us. Whether we are people who are Jewish, people who are Jewish, people who are people, whether we are queer or straight, trans or cis, white, people of color, whatever our bodies can do or not do, whatever we feel good about and don't feel good about. Tonight, we're a temporary tribe. And that includes the people who are with us, not in this room physically, but virtually. Because we're entering a new decade in Jewish time. We're entering 5780. And we're entering a new time in our way of experiencing spiritual centeredness. So for those of you on Livestream, guess what? You're with us too. You are also a part of this tribe together. And so in this moment, let's get present. Take a deep breath. Oh, I heard that. That's amazing. And I want you to breathe out into the space, the part of you that is most excited to be here. Breathe it out. Let it fill this up. Let it fill all of us up. Take another breath and let out into this space the part of you that maybe is a little bit nervous. The part of you that's not so sure. Whatever that is, that's part of us too. And we're glad it's here. So breathe it out and let it be in the space with us. We are all of us. And there are people in this room that you don't know. So this is a moment to connect. Turn to somebody that you didn't bring with you tonight. You can say hi to the people you love also, but for a second, say hi to somebody that you don't love yet. And for those of you online, you can type in the chat box, talk to whoever you're with. You got the picture. Shana Tova.
אחות קטנה תפילתה אורך ועונה El norafonolo למחנותיו תכלה שונו וקללותיו תחל שנה וברכותיה
some candles, as we do when we gather when the sun has set and the sacred time begins. So we want to invite Rabbi Emily to help us light these 3 candles. 2 are for this new year that begins tonight, and 1 is for peace. And we want to invite our friend Zafir to help us begin this lighting of this candle for peace by reciting in Arabic the prayer for peace that we've been reciting for quite a few years. It exists in Hebrew, English, and Arabic. And before Rabbi Emily lights these candles is Zafir. Lead us with these words. And I think this slide should be probably going on right now.
تعالوا لضيء شمعات السلام أمة واحدة وطلب واحد، خصوصا الآن في هذه الأيام، أيام البكاء الكبرى، في الأيام المقدسة لديانتينا، في يوم الجمعة ومساء السبت، نضيء في كل بيت شمعة للسلام، شمعة تطالب بوجه المستقبل ووجه الإنسان، شمعة تنتصر على الحدود والرعب من بيوت عائلاتنا وبيوت صلواتنا. نضيء أحدنا للآخر، والشموع تكون البروج إلى أرواحنا حتى نصل لمعبد السلام والتحيات.
Let these candles be lighthouses to our spirit until we all arrive at this sanctuary of peace. many of you are here for the very first time? That will be all of us. None of us have been here before. How many of you are at Lab Shul for the very first time? Welcome. Those of you online, you're getting a standing ovation. We're all here for the very first time. This night has never happened. This place has never happened. This is the blessing for things that are happening for the first time. Shehechianu, for all the travels, for surviving a year, for being here now. So my name is Amichai, and I'm here with Lab Shul, and we got a full team here on stage, and you'll meet us all, and we got a full team in front of and backstage, and we're all part of one team. And there in the middle, our brother Day is lighting the candles on this beautiful altar that is grounding us in earth here in the middle of Midtown. And we'll have many opportunities to go feel what it's like to have this place. So here's a story. Once upon a time, there was a teacher, a wise old teacher on top of a hill who had many students who only selectively were allowed to come and sit at her feet and learn. And one day, this one student treks for days and weeks and shows up at this teacher's little hut and says, "I have come to learn from you." And the teacher said, as she has said countless times, "Okay, but for you to start learning with me, you have to find your place, your spot, here in this home. When you find your spot, we can begin." So this eager student sits in one corner. It's a small place. Teacher says no. Tries the chair. There's only one chair. No. Next to the window. No. And so it goes for hours. Teacher keeps saying, "No, you haven't found your spot. We cannot begin." Finally, so exhausted from this pilgrimage, this wannabe student collapses on the floor and falls asleep. An hour or so later, wakes up with a start, realizes where he is, looks up, sees the teacher sitting there patiently drinking a cup of tea, and says, "I'm so sorry for wasting your time. Clearly, teacher, I am not meant to be here. I did not find your place." The teacher snickers and says, "The place where you feel comfortable enough to sleep, that's your place. We're ready to begin. Ready? Begin." So this is a story I heard many years ago and told many times a long time ago in my high school teacher career back in Israel in the 90s. And it came back because tonight we're thinking about here, about place, about finding our place in this world, at this time, on this planet, inside this complicated thing called life. So we want to invite us all, as Rabbi Emily already welcomed us, to feel another breath and be here now. Let's find our place. If you fall asleep, that's fine. Somebody will elbow you. And if you're sitting somewhere a little far and you want to sit next to someone, move on up. We can huddle up. Find your spot. Fill your space. We'll be here for a while. Shana Tova.
I was born in the river of life.
tonight is the night when the night begins of the first night of the year. In our tradition, Rosh Hashanah, the new year, begins tonight. The world is recreated. We were born tonight in the river of life. So those of you, if you are able to stay standing, rise to this occasion of our birthday. And if you want to rise inside of you, that's fine as well. Take a look around this temporary tribe of ours. Those of you joining us online, we invite you to rise as well, even if you are in your pajamas. Tonight, we are born in the river of life, and we are we. Other, we discover the divine.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam.
As we bless, so we are blessed. And gently, elegantly, we get to sit back down.
Breath. In the presence of the infinite, we watch with awe as today becomes tonight, like a word exhaled. Change of seasons brings understanding. Time and space and stars move with meaning and purpose.
Amen.
Notice the endless process of creation. Day becomes night. Light rolls from darkness. Dawn rises again and again, each change a manifestation of the soul of the universe. May we be guided now, as always, by living and eternal mystery. In the presence of the infinite, we are blessed. This and every evening.
Love is the answer to the questions we know how to ask and the questions we can't yet dream into being. With love, we are human. With love, we meet the infinite.
שיר המעלות ממעמקים קראתיך אלוהים אדוני שמע בקולי תהיינה אוזניך קשובות לכל תחנוני אדוני שמע בקולי תהיינה אוזניך קשובות לכל תחנוני איי 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 איי
This poem, this psalm, is often sung on these days of awe, when we are invited to go as deep as we can, so we can rise as high as we can. For those of you new to Lab Shul, and for those of us who've been with us for a while, we are proudly God optional. Meaning we invite each of us to figure out what it means for you to go deep inside, and what it means to rise above. And when we sing, as we now do, Mima Makim, from the depths, we call out what it is we're calling out for, who it is we're calling out to. It's really just about the calling out, us voicing who we are and what we need, and what is stopping us from being everything we want to be in this serious moment on this planet. My teacher and friend Dvir taught me that in this psalm, the words are Adonai Shim'a Bekoli, from the depths I call you, hear my voice, but actually it's not hear my voice. It's listen to what's inside my voice. Ma betoch hakol sheli. So this is an invitation for all of us to forget that there's a stage, that you might not know the words. It's the voice that matters. It's the deep that matters. It's the rise that matters. So on this first night of this year, we figure out what is deep in us that wants to rise, and who we want to be. So sing with us tonight, so that our voices fill this big space with our big life and make it even bigger.
שיר המעלות ממעמקים קראתיך אלוהים אדוני שמע בקולי תהיינה אוזניך קשובות לכל תחנוני אדוני שמע בקולי תהיינה אוזניך קשובות לכל תחנוני איי 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 שיר המעלות ממעמקים קראתיך אלוהים אדוני שמע בקולי קשובות לכל תחנוני. אדוני, שמע בקולי, תהיה לאוזניך קשובות לכל תחנוני. איי, 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 שיר Pigeon, sing with us. קשובות לכל תחנוני. ממעמקים בקולי שמעה, ממעמקים בקולי שמעה. All I'm asking is peace within, without. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. השכיבנו עלינו סוכת אדוני אלוהינו לשלום. ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים טובים. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ועל ירושלים ועל כל העולם.
תיקון וחודש שופר בכסר יום חגנו.
Did you hear that? That was our wake-up call. From the depths of our insides, we invite ourselves to the highest heights of Sukkot Shalom, the roof of peace extended way beyond this vaulted masterpiece surrounding us. And this shofar that we just gave a preview of tonight is blasting us to be fully awake. As we enter now the Amidah, our standing moment, a moment of prayer when we get to use some of the liturgy we inherited and go inside and ask ourselves tonight, each and every one of us, what do I need tonight? What do I want tonight? How can I be tonight and this entire coming year the best version of myself so we can help each other make this world the best possible reality we all deserve and so desire. So this is prayer. This is conversation. This is each one of us privately with whatever it is you feel is your deepest, highest source.
יסוד חכמים ונבונים ומלמד דעת מבינים הבטחה בתפילה ובתחנונים לחלום ולחנן פני רוח מלכי המלכים ואדוני
עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה.
ורחמים זוכר יצואיו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים
lovely lady from Channel 11 might still be here, who interviewed me just before we started and said, what are you all doing here exactly? Is it a synagogue? What's this God optional stuff? I'm not sure I answered properly. It was on the spot. So maybe it'll air later. But what I meant to say was that yes, we're doing what our ancestors have been doing for many, many generations. And we're doing it with a twist. Because these are twisted times. We're doing the best we can to be as present as we can. So I want to share a few words with you about tonight, about being here. A few weeks ago, an 11-year-old sat me down and said, I want you to tell me what it's all about. I don't get it. I go to school, I come back to school, video games, this, that. Really, is that it? What is it all about? Because the earth is in trouble. And I don't get this. What is it all about? Really, I said, the meaning of life? I laughed at first, and then I said, oh, this is serious. These are those things you're not ready for, but you need to be. Stakes are higher when it's your kid. He's 11 years old. He's not just asking a rabbi. These are the big questions, the big stuff, the stuff of awe. In your programs and out on the lobby floor, the questions we wanted to bring to our consciousness tonight, this season. Why am I here? Why are we here? The big questions that 11-year-olds ask. And these days, many of us do. What's going on? So we got 10 days. These annual days of return and realignment to ask ourselves honest, big questions. That's why we do this every year. And on Yom Kippur, I'll ask the why question for YK. But tonight I want to begin with a here of the why am I, why are we here? Talk about being here. What does it mean to be local in a global reality? What does it mean to own our presence here, our carbon footprint, where so much of who we are is harmful, where it could be the solution? So let's start with here. Here in your body, here in your seat, feeling it? Take a look around here in this room. This is here. We're here on an island, once known as Manhattan. This land holy to the Lenape people, the original ones. We're here in a place that in 1906 was built by Oscar Hammerstein the First, the composer's grandfather, built the Manhattan Opera House right here. 4 years later, the Uptown Metropolitan Opera was so freaked out by the downtown success, they bought him out for $1.2 million. This became vaudeville, a theater, for many years. I'm told Iron Maiden performed here, and Britney Spears, and J-Lo. I may have been here for parties, I don't know. How many of you have been here for anything that wasn't High Holidays? Okay, so welcome back. This place is currently owned by a church, the Church of Reverend Moon. It's a little complicated. We found this out after. We're sanctifying the space with our intentions and love, with an altar in the middle of the space that our brother Day, who is an artist and a shaman and a healer, is helping us by building this altar tonight, and the altars that you've seen throughout the season. We'll be building here throughout the days that are coming. Sacred earth, this earth here, now. We're a pop-up temple, and tonight we're here in the sanctuary of here. And we're here, each one of us, with our own baggage. I'm so happy to say that as I look at this room, I know many of you, but not all of us. But I know that every single one of us is here with questions. Because how could we not? Our own personal stuff, no matter what age we are, what we're dealing with, our stuff. And as people at this moment on the planet, as Americans, we got a lot of big questions about what does it mean to be here? How are we responsible? What is our role? Our ancestors have sat on this night in endless types of places, in days of awe and woe and joy, and we get to be here tonight privileged and comfortable and beautiful, and yet we get to ask big questions. That's what being here tonight means. Think about our privilege. Think about how aware we are of, in our name, how many oppressions. How, with our tax money, how much abuse. Whoever's here tonight, if you're here as a guest or somebody working, if you're online, wherever all over the world, we get to ask big questions tonight. And the question that I want to ask is about our morality. Because, and I'm sorry this is not going to be like a super happy sermon. It'll get joyful at times. But this is the first night of a new year, and we got to ask some questions. Because it occurs to me and to many of us that we are sitting here tonight, and with our questions is the question of how injured we are. It is a question of what is now known as our moral injury. Let those two words seep in. We're living in a moment of collective moral injury. Earlier this summer, I got to spend some time upstate with my friends Esther and Jack. Esther Perel, who many of you met, who spoke off our stages, and who just flew back tonight, welcome back, from Bucharest, where her husband Jack Saul, is presenting a project on moral injury and moral repair. And when we were in and outside the lake, if you ever hang out with Esther upstate and she asks you to go swimming, you might want to ask before, how long are we going to be swimming for? Before you hop into the lake. Thank you for the exercise. In and out the lake, we spoke about what's on our minds and in our hearts. We spoke about moral injury. And I promised Esther that my sermon tonight will not be, and I quote, vapid. I'll do my best. Jack is a therapist, a performance scholar, and a person who deals with trauma. And what he's doing tonight in Bucharest, in Romania, is this international festival. He's presenting this project that is called The Injury of War. And it's about the moral injury of those of us who are presented on our behalf in the trenches of warfare. Moral injury, these are Jack's words, is the sense that one's fundamental understanding of right and wrong has been violated. Raise your hand if you feel that your sense of right or wrong fundamentally has been violated. And if not, great. Awesome. This is not a political statement. This is a human ethical question. In 2019, with a climate where it's at, with division where it's at, with political hardship hardening our hearts all over the world, with growing racism and refugees, with disparity of class, with abuse of all levels. And we ask, what's right, what's wrong anymore? So that is moral injury of the lightest kind. Moral injury, Jack writes, and it's a term that was coined in clinical context of supporting war veterans, war correspondents, and other witnesses of violent wars who are troubled by their experiences and may suffer from moral injury. Such problems of conscience lead to intense feelings of grief, shame, guilt, and may contribute to the high number of suicides among U.S. veterans, average 20 a day. There are about 22.5 million veterans in the U.S., about 14%, and about 20 a day. And some of us here are veterans from this country, from other countries. So this work on moral injury began with paying attention to those who've been sent to war on our behalf and are coming back. But it doesn't stop there. This distress not only affects witnesses of war, it implicates us all as well. We as a public must contend with our collective responsibility for all and recent wars. We must share the moral burdens of shame, guilt, and outrage that are usually carried by the individual alone, a soldier or somebody working for ICE on our behalf. Out of this sharing of what we are dealing with, we may find connection, hope, and the possibility of building a cornerstone for collective healing and moral repair. Collective healing and moral repair, that's the eyes on the prize. The arc that Jack taught me this past summer is how we move from moral injury to moral repair. As individuals, wherever we are met by the ripple effect of violence, by a nation, by a world. How do we move from moral injury to moral repair? My 11-year-old son's question, that's in the context of moral injury. Here's a kid who reads the news and feels the fear, his own existential angst. God, to be 11. But to be an 11-year-old on Instagram with a digital detox that we need, there's moral injury there as well. Whatever we do to distract ourselves, and many of us are doing so much not, this is the night, this is the season to ask ourselves some questions of the injury so we can honestly look ourselves in the mirror, recognize where we are responsible, whether we like it or not, and how do we begin the journey individually and collectively of repair, tikkun. That's what I couldn't tell the TV reporter because that was a little too long, but that's why we're here tonight. There's a gentleman by the name of Chris Antal. He's a minister, a chaplain, a veteran who's doing a lot of this work, and Jack got me on to read some of Chris's work. The groups that he puts together for veterans are not exactly support groups. People come together to reframe and hold possible systemic change in a response to what they experienced, grounded not in individual therapy, but rather in shared spiritual and moral community. They create a public ceremony with ritual and spiritual discipline. They create sanctuary for veterans and their families and friends to provide adaptive leadership as they transform themselves from patient to prophet. From being patients to being prophets, bearing witness to unsanitized and in glorious truths, while the U.S. public, us, listens and wrestles with issues of culpability, obligation, and moral responsibility. The outcome is a post-traumatic growth and spiritual development indicated by, and here's our wish list, greater moral engagement, awareness, forgiveness, compassion. Such adaptive change may lead to increased resistance to militarism, to nationalism, and a greater sense of reverence for all life on this fragile earth. So this is from the work of a therapist and a chaplain who's working with veterans. What does that have to do with us? What if we were to adapt these methods, as many people are thinking, to what communities need to do? All sorts of communities that gather together to look each other in the eye, put down the phones, and talk about our injuries, our moral obligations, so we can rise again to who we want to be. That's the model. And as Jack and Esther and I were upstate thinking about this huge challenge, I was wrestling with another story that I wanted to bring tonight that might have a couple of tips of how we take this very tall order and activate it in our lives. A story that comes from the Jewish tradition, a cornerstone, a master story that I want to tell tonight as a way to help us move from our moral injury towards our moral repair. So the story is a story of a boy, Jack's namesake. His name is Yaakov, Jacob. This is Mark Chagall's version of the story. Young Jacob runs away from home. He's possibly a teenager, maybe a little older. This is his first night away from home. He's on a hill in the middle of nowhere. He's never been away from home. He's a mama's boy. And it's cold, and it's dark. As the sun set, he took a bunch of stones. He puts an altar, just like this one, but very makeshift, around his head, a bunch of stones to feel safety. And there he goes to sleep. And in the night, he dreams. The kind of dreams your therapists will pay for. In the dream, he sees a ladder, a gateway to heaven, and on it, angelic beings going up and down, energies. And the divine is there and speaks to him and says, Jacob, Yaakov, it's going to be all right. You're going to be back home. I know you're scared. This land you're sleeping on tonight is yours, and you belong. And you will have so many children, there will be countless, and you will be a blessing onto this planet, and one day you will come home. Jacob wakes up. Was that a dream? It felt like a vision. Ma nora hamakom. Jacob whispers or yells, how awesome is this place? There must be something called God here, and I had no idea. V'anochi lo yadati. He wakes up in as many ways as waking up can happen. He belongs. He's not alone, even though he is. And he will travel on from this moment, this boy, and he will build a family, a tribe, a nation. He's the third of our patriarchs. And boy, is he a problematic part of patriarchy. But right now, he's a kid, a boy, a runaway teen. And folks, he is full of moral injury. Because you know how he got there? Just a day before, previously in Genesis. Jacob wears his older brother's fur coat and his hunting gear and NRA hat, and he goes to his blind father, and he lies to his father, and he pretends to be his older brother Esau to get the birthright, the inheritance, the deed. And his father Isaac suspects, but goes along with it and gives Jacob everything. And Rebecca, the mom, her part here is complicated, cheers on. And when Esau comes back from the hunt with the meat he prepped for dad, he yells so loudly that that yell is still heard in the skies, say the mystics. So Jacob has to run away from home because his brother wants to kill him. And his dad gives him a blessing, but he's pretty mad. Jacob is morally injured. And we, his descendants, carry that still today. How do you move from moral injury to moral repair when it's your great-great-great-grandparents? When it's in your DNA? America, Jewish people, white people, Israelis, men, women, other. How do we move? How do we repair? So from Jacob's story, I want to take 3 quick lessons. The first is notice. When he says, Ma norah hamakom hazeh, norah in Hebrew means awesome. It also means fearful. And I want to believe that Jacob at that moment woke up with his eyes wide open. Wow, this is big. And what I've done is big. And big requires big. He grows up like that. Let's not pretend this is not happening. This is. And we are implicated, and this is part of us. The second thing that happened is awe, which is why we chose that word for this season and this year. Norah, awe. Could be cliche, could be enormous. Notice. Do not be on autopilot. Oh, wow, there is something here bigger than my ego and my immediate needs. I am connected to something so much bigger and mysterious. Wow, oh, Yesh Elohim. Maybe it's God, maybe it's nature, maybe it's life, whatever you want to call it. There are moments in our lives, usually when we are on our knees, in anguish, and sometimes in joy, when we stand up and say, oh, bless you. Moments like that. Someone told me that bless you comes from the plague. When we were so afraid of our bodies, everything was blessings. So let every sneeze be a moment of awe. Wow, alive, our bodies are working. Get off autopilot. Awe. That's one way to deal with our moral injury. Be awake. Be aware. Where am I responsible? Where am I sleeping at the wheel? How can I wake up? To little things, to big things. Jacob wakes up that day. He's going to have a long journey. And finally, here. The key word in Jacob's dream story is the word makom. Remember that story about that sage? That teacher who had a student who could only begin when that student actually found a way to sleep. Ma norah hamakom hazeh. How full of awe is this place here? Now it might be in the Torah, in Genesis, that makom meant Israel, Canaan, our homeland. But I actually want to say that it might be something else. When Jacob sleeps on that earth and wakes up, what he is promised in his dream is that the earth is his, ours. That as an earthling, Ma norah hamakom hazeh doesn't mean the boundaries of Israel and the Holy Land. Yes, it also means that, but it means the earth. The dream he has, the vision says, young man, you are a planetary being. Your responsibility is for this earth. Your children will be on this earth. You will be a blessing for this earth. It doesn't say this tribe or that nation or this passport. It says makom, place, here. So simultaneously, Jacob is teaching us two things: the local and the global. That I'm connected to everybody right now is a blessing, but I've got to have my rock, my place where I feel connected and belonging. If there is moral injury, it's because in my name, in Afghanistan, in the Ukraine, maybe in Palestine and in Zaire, in Greece and in Syria, all over the world, things are happening that I can see on my phone, but I have no responsibility over. This global reality where so much injustice happens in our name feels like we're part of the world, but really we're not. And what it creates is disconnection and a deeper injury. So the answer to that is not lose the global, but focus on the local. And that's what Jacob does. He wakes up, and what's the first thing that he does? He builds an altar. Takes a couple stones, puts them down, and says, oh, wow, me, here, 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 makom. Throughout his journeys, his exiles, he'll think about that place. He'll come back to that place. And many generations later, he will build a home there. So where are we tonight? Here. With so many questions of this country, this world, the teens that led us to the streets, the news that keeps us up at night, the desire to live a life of wellness and well-being and kindness and awe. When there is so much injury in our hearts, this injured morality, I want to suggest that we go back to Jacob's story. That first of all, when you go to sleep tonight, maybe you don't want to put rocks around your bed. It's a little complicated. But that we take our visions and our dreaming seriously, the ones we hear from teachers and lovers and from artists and prophets, patients turned prophets. That we listen deeply to what it means to be awake and alive and aware of every single moment in our lives, not taken for granted, so we can notice where we need to grow. And that all would lead us to hear, to be present. Put down the phone, look me in the eye, on the subway, at dinner, at a meeting, on the street, right now. Let's start by being here. Fully here for as long as we dare. And then again. And then again. The sense of local to connect us to the global might give us the ability to be present for our injury, for our awe, for our here, and for our repair. Tonight, we're just talking about being here. 10 days from now, we'll go deeper into the why. So let's take just one more second here together. Manora hamakom hazeh. How awesome is this here? This now. This opportunity to truly live this life and rise. Shana Tova. So we're going to open our ark right here for the first time on this night. And I want to invite two friends to come join us up here who came all the way from Seattle to here. Ellen and Suzanne, who were with me in Poland last year on our trip, and in an antique store found a Torah cover that's been waiting to be redeemed. And it is here now with us to be celebrated. And Ellen and Suzanne are going to have the honor of opening the Ark. And David Broza, our old friend, is back from making peace in Israel again. We're still at it, to join us as we tap into Avinu Malkeinu, a moment of prayer to whatever it is our ancestry can help us wake up to. And we invite us to rise.
שובי אליי
I'm Sarah Sokolic, Executive Director of Shul, and it is my honor and privilege to officially welcome you here. Can they sit down? Please be seated. I'm going to get them up at the end. Okay. I'm just here to welcome you this evening, our opening ceremonies, so to speak, of our High Holy Day season. This past week, we mourned the loss of Robert Hunter, the prolific poet and lyricist best known for his contributions to the musical anthology of the Grateful Dead. While there are dozens of songs he's known for, as a lifelong second-generation Deadhead, I can only think of one song when I think of Hunter, and that is Box of Rain. For years, I've reckoned with the notion of a box of rain. What is that box of rain? The song suggests in one verse that it will ease the pain, and in another refers to it as wind and water, sun and shower. This past week, I read a bunch of articles about Hunter's life and his writing, and in an interview in 1996, he said, "By box of rain, I meant the world we live on. But ball of rain didn't have the ring to my ear. So box it became, and I don't know who put it there." This blew my mind. For the past few months here at Shul, we've been preparing for the Days of Awe, using awe as our thematic inspiration for recognizing what is in need of truly being appreciated and how our perspective on things in our lives can be seen differently by stepping back, seeing the big picture, and shifting our lens. The planet we live on, perhaps the most deserving appreciation of awe there is. There will be much more exploration of this throughout our High Holy Day season and throughout the year ahead. On the High Holy Days in particular, Aleinu, it is on each one of us to open our hearts and our eyes to what is most deserving of awe in our lives. I'm most in awe of this unique community, how it shifts and changes and grows, and just what we're building here at Shul, and the effort that so many of you here in this room have put in to help us shift our lens and rethink what it means to be a spiritual community with others, to be in spiritual community with others in the 21st century. Some of our community members will be sharing more about this through the coming days. Robert Hunter concluded Box of Rain with the difficult truth that life is short and death is forever. Such a long, long time to be gone, and such a short time to be there. We've all got one chance at this life, and these days of awe are our opportunity to reshift our focus on how we want to live it. Aleinu, it's on us. Shana Tova.
It's on us to be as present as we can. This here that we're talking about is an invitation to show up in so many ways locally. Our partners and our friends, those of us who show up for the minyan when someone needs it, for our weekly Kaddish call, or for the meetings, endless meetings that make life happen. So in showing up, we invite ourselves to show up. And at this moment, I'm going to give a couple of announcements before we end tonight, almost with a moment of standing up. Tomorrow, we're going to be here, starting at 9, with plenty of options for all ages. So whatever time zone you're in, 9 a.m. I think there'll be coffee and snacks and stuff here as well. If not, there's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. Also a movie theater, but whatever, be here. 9:45, all of us will gather here from the various offerings. We should be done by 12:30. It's realistic, I hope. And then we're going to go to the river. After we have some challah and honey and wine, and we're going to take our breadcrumbs and we're going to throw them overboard as we say goodbye to the year and everything that we don't want of it. It's about a 15-minute walk to the Hudson. We're going to make it especially interesting with some tasks along the way. So that's tomorrow. There's also a tashlich that we're going to be part of on Tuesday afternoon, together with our friends at New Sanctuary Coalition and many friends in faith to stand for immigrants in this country and all over the world. So info about that in your programs. Day is almost done with this evening's altar. It has been building as this evening has grown. And tomorrow, those of you who will join us will have an opportunity to help create more and dismantle these altars and learn more about his work and information in the program and outside. Finally, the beautiful books that you have. Thank you, Leah Lynn, for holding one up. If you're joining us tomorrow and you want to take this with you, bring it back. If you are not, please leave it there. We printed just enough for us and with love for the earth. We don't want to print more. So take it with you, bring it back, use it again, annotate it. It's full of great stuff. Read it at home after the holidays. So that's our announcements. One of our ways of standing here and being here is for each other at moments of need. And there are those among us here tonight who in the last year lost a loved one. And some of us at this time, this night, right here, are thinking of a loved one whose yortzeit, whose anniversary of death is around the corner. And as this year begins, memories of many in our heart. So we're going to recite the Kaddish together, the sacred poem of memory and praying for peace within and beyond. I want to invite those of us who are saying Kaddish at this moment in time, for whatever reason, if you feel comfortable, to please rise. And I want to invite those of us, whether it's your custom, to stand with those who say Kaddish, to stand in solidarity and compassion, if that's your custom. And let us say Kaddish tonight for all those morally and otherwise injured, many for whom nobody is saying Kaddish. And let our words help build this place right here with memory and love. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך רעותה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו, יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי תקודשה לעילה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום ואמרו אמן.
Are we vamping it? Anybody here ready for a glass of wine? For some honey? I am. I want to invite the one of our holders of this community to come up. If you are working late hours on many emails and you are on this Lab Shul Community Board of Directors, we're super grateful, and our least way of thanking you is by embarrassing you on stage right now to help raise the wine, the grapes, the challah, the honey, the apples. Board folks, I see you. Michael, John, Jeremy, Sarah, you're still on the board. Renee's over here. Michelle, Jen, Stuart, I saw you here somewhere. There you go. Joyce, Craig, I know you're online.
Andrew's coming.
There's Andrew. Come on up, y'all. There's room for all.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
All right, friends, thank you for helping us get here tonight. Wine, challah, apples, and honey are going to wait for us all outside and at home downstairs. This is just the ceremonial first bite into deliciousness. So let's start with the wine. Joyce, hold it up. And let's say this together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam borei pri hagafen. Amen. Thank you, City Winery, for complimentary wine. And is this a Barbara Klein challah? All right. Barbara Klein challah. Only here. Only at Lab Shul. And we're going to bless this one together. And then we got apples, and then we got honey. So, actually, apples come first. I don't know why that is. There's probably a rule for that. Apples. This is their season. Let's do this together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam borei pri ha'etz. The trees that sustain us with fruit, and for every hand that works to feed us. This on every night. And finally, this bread. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And here comes the honey. May this be a year of sweetness on your behalf. This was awesome. Awesome. Shana Tova. Bon appetit. B'te'avon. Laila Tov.
Shalom.
See you later and tomorrow.
So shalom במרומה. עושה שלום במרומה. עושה שלום.
Amen, amen. Friends, as you leave and go sip wine downstairs, please don't forget to say Shana Tova to at least one person you have not yet met. Shana Tova and good night. Bravo, everybody.
Thank you. Shana Tova.
I would love to leave it. Should we leave the stuff here?